Welcome back. As we promised, we are going to tackle the very important speech of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in front of the African Union Summit, the summit which was held via video conference due to the COVID-19 pandemic circumstances. And to shed more light on the speech and the most important points which were tackled in it, we are very much delighted to have with us via phone Ambassador Wafaa Basseem, former Assistant Foreign Minister. A very good morning to you, ma'am.
Good morning.
Ma'am, as I said, we are speaking about the speech of the President. The speech of the President really yesterday in front of the EU included important vital points, proving a day after the other that Egypt is going all the time to give a hand and to support the African continent in all the crises, in fighting COVID-19, in the security and economic challenges, everything. Of the most important files which were tackled in the speech was the fight against COVID-19, was developing the infrastructure, and was the support of EU in different fields. How do you see those points, ma'am, chosen by the President to tackle in his speech?
Thank you for your very clear point as far as the speech of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi yesterday through the video conference, which has been a situation imposed on the African Union, its summit, and as the President said at the end of the speech, he wanted so much that next summit would permit to the African leaders to exchange their points of views, to share their concerns, the aspirations of their populations directly. And since we're supposed speaking about COVID-19, actually it has been one of the threats that were there during last year as far as the hope and the plans not only of Africa, but for all the world. A lot of the resources that were supposed to be directed to the development, to the restructuring, to the upgrading of the infrastructure in the continent had to be directed to combat COVID-19. That's why one of the important points in the speech of the President, the importance to put hands together to combat this pandemic and to see how the continent is going to rehabilitate its economies, its infrastructure, post, let's hope, this pandemic, and even while hoping it's fading away due to the vaccines that are now under development and even started. The second thing, of course, was the importance of using the model of Egypt as far as infrastructure projects, to share these models with our African brothers for the benefit of the whole continent. The third thing, and not because it's not a priority, but because it's an important thing, is to find solutions, African solutions, for the African problems that we are facing now. Mm-hmm. While thanking the president, the outgoing president of South Africa, mm-hmm. and welcoming the incoming president from Congo for the African Union, the president touched upon the very important issue of the dam in Ethiopia. And he mentioned very clearly, again and again, the will of Egypt to reach an agreement that is respected and committed to by the different parties as far as a legal regime that would ensure the rights but also the duties of the riparian states as far as the fair distribution of the water. He reassured once again that Egypt is willing to continue the negotiations, serious negotiations, aiming at reaching this agreement and working on its implementation. At the same time, we are ready to continue doing projects to maximize the benefits of every country and its rights as far as the the Nile waters are concerned.
Yes, ma'am. Amen to that. And in many occasions, the head of a state was keen to say that we are with any kind of development, and we are going to give a hand to all African nations to exchange expertise, to use the Egyptian models in mega projects and in all fields of development to push the wheel forward in all African states. But, ma'am, also the speech of the president was very friendly. He thanked South President Cyril Ramaphosa for all the efforts exerted during the past year during his tenure as the EU chairperson, wishing the Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi in this very critical period and the challenges in front of him as the coming chairperson of the EU, thanking Moussa Faqih, the AU commissioner, and congratulating him for the re-election of him for a second term. Egypt is back to Africa. Egypt is back to our strategic depth. How do you see the coordination and the integrated efforts of Egypt to be all the time with the African states, fighting all the challenges and facing all the challenges?
Egypt has never been away from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a return to Africa. It's an increasing enhancement of the Egyptian role in Africa, which has never been absent. Mm-hmm. We have always been there in Africa in different ways and forms, whether in peacekeeping operations, whether by extending our hands to our African brothers through the Egyptian experts in all fields, medical, engineering, infrastructure, education, higher education, agriculture. Egypt has always been there. Look at the number of hospitals that Egypt has been and is operating all over the continent. And if I start the examples, I think the list will be very long. Of course, and as you said, Egypt is always coordinating with African brothers, African institutions, and we don't need to go very far away. During the last 2-3 weeks, we can say that Egypt has been the Mecca of the African leaders, African heads of institutions. As you said, Mr. Moussa Faqih was in Egypt. He, of course, discussed with the president and the Egyptian authorities the agenda of the summit. He discussed with them his plans for his new term as head of the African Union institution per se. We have had lots of conversations taking place between the president, the Egyptian president, and the president of South Africa, discussing, let's say, what was the outcome of their presidency, while also Egypt was on the Troika of the African Union.
Yep.
The president of Congo, 2-3 days ago, discussing again with the president what are his plans, how does he view his incoming presidency, how he is thinking about ways and means for discussing and handling the different African challenges that are facing us now. We
Yes,
are
ma'am.
on the bureau
Very well
of the
said.
presidency.
And unfortunately, we're running out of time, and I want to speak with you about another important phone call of the president, which took place yesterday when he had this phone call with TV presenter Amr Adib, and the phone call was filled with many important points occupying the minds of Egyptian people. Well, the slums, and giving this promise to the Egyptians that Egypt is going to be free of slums, and the political leadership is keen to fight all illegal or violation of buildings, and to upgrade or to boost the standard of life of about 4,500 Egyptian villages. To add to this, that Egypt is working hard, as you've kindly mentioned, for preserving and maintaining Egypt's water rights regarding the Ethiopian dam. How do you see those 3 points in specific which were tackled yesterday by the president in this phone call with Egyptian TV presenter Adib?
I think the president, and first of things, the first message that the president gave is that this is a president who is very much involved in the daily life and concerns of the people of Egypt. He is following the media, he is following the different channels of the media, whether they are private or public, and he knows what are the concerns of the Egyptians. The concerns were very clear, according to the president, are divided in 2 things. The internal affairs, and here we spoke about the slums, the legal systems to combat the infractions of the law as far as building and construction across Egypt, and the importance of the upgrading of the standard of living of people in the villages, but also in the cities. And he explained why we are having 20 new cities to respond to the needs and the concerns of the Egyptian people. He also spoke about the roads, the infrastructure, how does he see this, how the people are seeing this. He spoke about, again, COVID-19, the importance of the vaccine. He gave reassurance to the Egyptian people that the government and the president are there following the situation day by day, encouraging them and reassuring them as well. He spoke also about the external concerns of the Egyptians, focusing mainly on 2 issues. Libya, with the new government, expressing some optimism and the full readiness of Egypt to work with the new government in Libya once it's sworn in. And then the main, biggest concern and question of life for the Egyptians, which is the water, the Nile water, and how we are going to continue managing the issue of the Ethiopian dam that is called the Renaissance Dam or GAD.
Yeah.
And he said there are 2 ways. One of them is that we are willing to continue follow the diplomatic way through
negotiations,
political valid negotiations, at the same time internally doing great work, great projects to manage and save water and use it to the maximum benefit, not wasting it at all.
Amen to that. Well, Ambassador Wafaa Basseem, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you very much for your input, ma'am, and have a very good day. This is our political leadership nowadays, to answer all questions on the spot and to speak in numbers, in statistics. When the president talked about the vaccinations, he said 35 million Egyptians are going to be inoculated, including the medical staff, including the elderly people and people with chronic diseases. When it comes to villages, 4,500 villages. When it comes to sums of money needed for Alexandria, for example, he was speaking in numbers, meaning that he is all the time following minute by minute the statistics and the numbers and what we really need. And this is the way now transparency plays a very important role, and spreading awareness with what's going on is our job. It's media job, and we are following suit these priorities of the state. Well, by this we come to the end of our breakfast show today. Tomorrow is another episode and another crew. You were in the company of my dear colleague Amal Mukhtar and myself, Nermeen Abdurrahman. Many thanks for watching. Stay tuned only on Nile TV International.